because Excel automation is one of the most important things you do in your day-to-day as a citizen developer if majority of your tasks sit within the Excel that you do day-to-day are in Excel. So for instance, if you're a payables reconciliation officer or receivables reconciliation officer, if you're a project manager using Excel to keep track of your product backlog, if you are a network analyst using Excel to keep track of all the various technologies and various technical equipment that you use, Excel automation is a very important part of what UiPath has to offer with StudioX. So I'll just share my screen shortly. Please let me know once you can see my screen.
Not yet.
Okay, just give it a second. It's going to come up shortly. Okay, you should be able to see my screen any moment now.
Yes, we can. Now it's there.
Okay, so just like I've said, welcome everyone once again. Congratulations on making it to the penultimate day of our UiPath Africa series. And in today's session, we'll be working through Excel automation with StudioX. My name again is Olaoluwa Daramola, and thanks to Emmanuel Kolawole, our co-host and facilitator for this Africa series. It's been really fantastic. So really on today's agenda, we'll be looking at what is Excel automation, what can you automate, and then lastly, I'll be showing you how you can use Excel automation and to build out automated processes. What is Excel automation? So like I said prior, as a business user and somebody that is a professional, you oftentimes need the use of a spreadsheet to keep track of certain things, to present data, to create presentations and charts. So Excel is really one of the most powerful productivity tools out there, and it's really formed a big part of all our lives. And really, UiPath with StudioX has really been able to create an environment where anyone can leverage the StudioX platform to automate tasks that they would normally do in Excel. So if you had a series of processes that you had to do or tasks you had to do either weekly, monthly, within the Excel or even daily, we've seen cases where you have to do things daily to keep the business continuity going. Excel automation allows you to handle those tedious processes to robots. Now, what can you automate? Just like I've said, creating of Excel reports, you can have bots that will create Excel documents for you. You can read and write data from Excel files. You can sort Excel data. You can use robots to check for errors in your reports. You can use UiPath StudioX to delete duplicate data. And you can also use the data within your Excel spreadsheets to drive your automation projects. For instance, you could have a list of customers in an Excel sheet that you want to use to generate or populate a Word template. I believe we did see this a few days ago in our Word automation session, which was great to see. And then also, you can do data migration and extraction with Excel as well. Just like in my previous session on working with data in StudioX, if you were privileged to join us in that session, you would have seen how we use the project notebook feature of UiPath StudioX to manipulate data in various forms. And that is really one way of working with Excel that is very important. And then we also saw how we could use them to define custom formulas in our Scratchpad. So if you have your own Excel custom formulas that you built into your automations, you'll be able to use them within your process. And then lastly, for more complex Excel users or more advanced Excel users, you probably already have macro set up, and you can use UiPath StudioX to run those macros. Now, how do you use it? UiPath StudioX provides you with a bunch of activities or actions that you can leverage on to carry out common tasks in Excel. Now, with Excel, you have to first use the Excel container, the use Excel file. This would allow you to indicate which Excel file you plan on working with, and then it will provide you a bounding area within which you can now build out your automation using different tasks or actions. Some of the tasks and actions, as you can see on your screen right now, you can see the append range action, you can see the autofill action, you can see the change pivot data source, create pivot table, delete column, delete rows, delete sheets, duplicate sheets, sort, export to CSV, read file rate, fill range, filter, and so on and so forth. Some of these actions, you'd find yourself using them more because they are more common and they are more tasks related to tasks that you do more often. But then there are also some uncommon actions that are provided for tasks that are not as frequent, but then will still be relevant to you as someone who wants to automate a process that has to do with Excel. So that is my short presentation as an opener to Excel in StudioX. And we're going to jump right into StudioX right now with a demo. So I'll switch over to my UiPath StudioX. And I would invite you to create a blank. So just give me a second. I need to switch. I believe I'm still in Studio. So I'll switch my license to StudioX. Okay, great. So our UiPath StudioX is up and running now. And I would like to invite you to create a blank task with me by clicking on the blank task action. And we'll just create a blank task called Working with Excel. You feel free to add a descriptor. And then click on Create. This will create a blank task where we'll build out our automation. While that is creating, I'll just take out some time to have some documents, some sample documents I might want to use. And just be on the lookout for them. Your StudioX would soon create the blank project, so just give it a second. Fantastic. We are up and running in StudioX. And like I mentioned earlier, before we can start using an Excel activity or Excel, I would like us to also do something after we've created our blank project. UiPath StudioX has a direct integration with Excel that enables us interact with the application on the application layer and gives us a little bit more flexibility while working with Excel documents. So I would invite us to go click on Home. Let me do that again, just in case you missed it. Home, Tools, and in your Tools tab, you would see an Excel add-in. So to prevent any errors going forward, just in case anyone does not have our Excel add-in on, I'll just invite you to click on that. And this would install the Excel add-in that allows you work with UiPath StudioX and Excel natively. So it gives you a lot more features there. Okay, great. So once you clicked on that, you're now certain that you have your Excel add-in installed. I would like us to go to our activities panel where we have our activities and just type Excel. In this, you can see that under our resources, we have an action called Use Excel File. I would like us to drag that into our designer panel. This would allow us access or the ability to use different Excel actions to build out automations. Okay, so now we would like to use UiPath. Before we can proceed, we need to select an Excel file to work with. So I would like to create a blank Excel file in the same working directory. So I'll create an Excel file here, and I'll call it. Okay, just give me a second. Let me open our project location. So in my project location, in my working with Excel project directory, I want to create a blank a new Excel file here called demo, Excel demo. And this will be the blank Excel file that we'll work with first off. So I'll close that. And then here, when it asks us select a value, so for the Excel file you want to work with, UiPath allows us select an existing Excel file. So I click open. Now, this is one way to do it. And then UiPath also allows us create a reference name that we want to reference the data within our Excel file by. So I would call this demo Excel. Now, this is one way of working with Excel. You already have a predefined or you already have an Excel file that has already been created and you want to work with that, right? Now, we will do that now within our Excel file. we want to be able to read and write information from our Excel file. So these are some of the most common actions that you would take or use rather when working with Excel. So reading and writing to your Excel file. So I'll come back to my activities panel, and you can see a bunch of actions for Excel automation. So you can see autofill, you can see read cell formula, you can see read cell value, you can see write cell, you can see chart related actions, you can see pivot table related actions. And thankfully, UiPath arranges these actions in groups so that whenever you're looking for something, you just know that, okay, this is where I want to go for my automation. So you can see we have a range of different actions for the range activity. So the range activities just allow us to perform tasks across a defined range within our Excel sheets. And then we have the workbook level or the workbook group that allows us to interact with the Excel document on the workbook layer. So I would now go ahead to do a very simple, drag in a very simple action here, the write cell. Now, the write cell activity typically usually asks us a very simple question. What do you want to write? And then where do you want to write it, right? And what I want to do for my demo file is click on what to write, and then I would say text because I want to write text. So I'll do that once more for anyone that has missed that, for anyone who's following along. I'll click on what to write, and then I'll click text. And I want to write to this text name. And where do I want to write it? Name. So you see that as updated. And then where do I want to write it? On my Excel document, it allows you to indicate within Excel where you want to put that information. So on my blank Excel document, I'll click indicate on Excel, and UiPath StudioX is going to launch Excel for me and allow me indicate where in my document I want to write that value. So I would highlight cell A1 and I would click confirm. Now, what this in essence is doing is saying, I want to write name to cell A1. That is a very simple automation. And what I would do is I would add a few more write lines to it. I'm sorry, write cells to it. So I'll copy and paste. And then I'll write in the what to write, I'll write my name as an example. And then specify where I want it to write it to. So I'll indicate in Excel, and I'll select cell A2, and then I'll click confirm. Now, this is a very, very simple automation that will just open up Excel, write to an existing Excel file, write to it, and close that Excel document. So I'm going to run my automation so that we can see what is going to happen. UiPath StudioX pops up Excel, populates name in cell A1, and populates my name in cell A2. Now we can have a look at that Excel document again. And you would see that indeed my automation has written in name and my name in cell A2. One last thing before we move on to an already populated Excel sheet is I would like to show you how UiPath can also go ahead and create an Excel sheet that doesn't exist, or an Excel sheet that doesn't exist, or hasn't been pre-created, like in our demo we had just seen. In your use Excel action, you can see we have a toggle here, a checkbox that says create if not exist. So once this is checked, even if your Excel document does not exist within that location, UiPath StudioX would go ahead and create that automation, that Excel document for you. So you can already see how we can use UiPath StudioX to generate reports based off of business logic that has been defined within StudioX. I would run this one more time to see that indeed our Excel demo new has been created on the run. And if we go into the working with Excel document sheets directory that I have, you would see that we have indeed created a new Excel demo document that was created right in this instance. So this is how you can generate reports using UiPath StudioX. I'll be moving on to a second demo where I'll be showing you how to work or read data from documents that have already been pre-populated. In this example, we have two documents. We have an annual reports document and an April expenses document. I will just quickly open that up, one of them up. I would open the annual expenses document up. And you would see that for each of this, in this document, we have different sheets depicting different months. And within each of those sheets, we have different pieces of information that we can use in our automations, right, to build out automation projects. I would use this as an example to show you how to interact with certain elements or use certain actions within UiPath StudioX. I would collapse this activity or this action, and I will add another use Excel file action in front of it or on top of it. And this time, I'm going to specify the annual reports that we had just seen I had just displayed on my screen. So as you can see, UiPath puts a direct link or a direct path to that document within that area of the action. And now it would allow us work with our Excel sheets. Some actions I would like to take, for instance, some common things you might want to do. For instance, if we were required to add a new cell or a new column rather, keeping track of the age of each employee within this organization, right? Would we be able to use UiPath StudioX to automate that process? The answer is yes. So I would show us how we can go about setting actions like that, and we'll run the processes together and see how it goes. So I'm just going to go ahead and look through my actions that are available to me. And under my range action group, you would see an action called insert column. And if you're having difficulty finding that, you can just come into your activities tab and just type out insert column. You'd click and drag the activity, and UiPath StudioX allows you to indicate where you want to add that column. So for instance, you want to add that column to the January sheet. And it also allows you to dictate where you want to put the column. So assuming we want to put the column right after the name, we would also click relative. So I want to put it after the name column. So I'll click select a value again, and then I would use the range. So you can see that one of the great things that UiPath does is UiPath somehow is suggestive, right? It understands context. Now, let me open that our Excel file again so that you can understand how UiPath works and why StudioX is so important to building automations quickly as a business user. Looking at that Excel sheet again, you can see that we've provided context as to what sheet we want to interact with within our action insert column. So I say I want to interact with my January sheet. And then also I need to say where I want that new column to go. Now, in this example, we want our new column to go after the column employee. UiPath understands context because if you click on the relative to column side of it, you can see here that we have the headers from within my Excel document. We have employee, we have manager name, we have role in company, we have email, and we have expenses. I'll click on employee, and then I'll also add a header. Now, for me to add that header, I would define the name of the header that I want. So I want the name to be age. You can also decide based on your need to format the column as you please. And in this, my example, I don't mind leaving it as a text. Now, what this has done in essence is UiPath has inserted a column into my Excel sheet for me to use within my automation. So think about a situation where you need to do something by maybe adding certain elements to an already existing Excel document. You can use this to add columns, and then you can also then go ahead to populate those columns. So I'll go ahead and run this automation, but rather than save changes, because I want our automation to not keep the changes within the document, I'll uncheck save changes for now so that we can see UiPath in action. So I'll close my Excel document. I would close my Excel document and I will run this again. I don't know if you caught that, but I'll do it one more time for anyone who didn't. But this time, I would add a message box just so our automation doesn't end until we interact with it. My automation is running again, and in no time, you'll see UiPath pop up. Excel. UiPath pops up Excel and has added our, okay, I think I made a mistake. I need to put the message box within my Excel activity scope. Let's see how that goes so that it doesn't close the Excel document. So let's do this one more time. Apologies for the retry. Yeah, I think we'll get it right this time. Fantastic. Just as you can see on my screen right now, UiPath has gone ahead to work with our January sheet and add a column named age to that Excel document. Now, I would go a step further to show us some other additional things we could do within UiPath StudioX with Excel. So I'll go back to UiPath StudioX and I'll stop my automation. Now we've been able to insert a column. I would like to show us how we can also go ahead to insert a sheet. So I'll go back to my activities panel and I'll type again, insert. And you can see now that this brings out a range of actions that have sheets with the inserts rather in them. So in this one, I want sheets. And in my sheets, you would say create in workbook Excel, insert sheets, which is fine. And then you would ask me the name of the sheet I want to add. So in our Excel sheet, we had January, we had March. I want to add December, a December sheet. So I'm going to put in December here. And then also UiPath wants you to reference this sheet somehow, right? In your future automation. So you need to save this for later, and then you can just call this December sheet. That is how you insert a sheet into UiPath Studio, into Excel using UiPath StudioX. I'll go ahead and drag in my insert rows because I also want to show you how to use the insert row. Now, this time I want to insert the row into my March table. So in Excel, I want to work in my March sheet. And I want to insert 2 rows. UiPath asks where you want to insert this row, and it gives you a few options. You can either insert it at the start, at the end, or at a specific index. But I want to insert this at the start of my document. I would switch my save changes back on by selecting this checkbox so that we can keep the changes and not override them after the process has run. I'll click run to run my automation. And in no time, UiPath pops up Excel, performs some of the tasks that we have asked, and then saves and closes the automation. We will go back to our working directory and open up the annual reports document, Excel document, to validate that what we requested has indeed occurred. Based on what we had specified, if you remember correctly, our automation was supposed to go ahead and add an age column to our January sheet, create a sheet called December, and in our March sheet, add 2 new rows at the beginning of our data set. So as you can see, UiPath StudioX has gone ahead to interact with those elements just as we have predefined, and giving us the desired results. I'll go ahead and show us a bit more actions, but for the delete activities with Excel, you can see that just like we had our create or insert column and insert rows, we also have delete columns and delete rows. We can also drag that in to see how that works. My delete column, I would like to delete from my March expense sheet. And I would like to specify what column I want to delete. In this instance, we had an issue where we had to delete all the emails already provided in that month because there was a data issue. So I would go into select the range, and then I'll click email to delete the column entirely. I would also want to delete some specific rows. So I'll drag my delete rows from my activities panel into my automation and my designer panel. In that same month of March, we had an issue with some of the data that was entered. And what I would like to do is I would like to delete a specific row. So you can see that UiPath StudioX gives you a bunch of options to delete rows, but I would like to use a specific row, and I would like to say row 1. But then also, we can also use the indicate in Excel feature to specify where we want to delete within the automation. So UiPath StudioX is going to pop up Excel, and in that same month of March, I'm going to highlight the row I want to delete. So I'll select just the first element here, and then I'll click confirm. And you can see that it says A4, right? Now, that is the delete rows. The last thing I would like to show you here is the delete sheet. And I would like to go ahead and specify the December sheets I want to delete, just the one like we had created earlier. I would like to specify that. I would also like to go back to the top of my automation and comment out some certain things that might affect our automation at a later point. But why not let's just go ahead and run our automation even. Let's see how that goes. If we run into any errors, we would resolve them as we go along. But let me go ahead and run my automation. As you can see, we had run into an issue with our delete rows, and I'll stop my application, the run, and go back and fix that. UiPath popped up and said that the row range we had defined was not accurate, so we would need to modify that. Now I want to specify specific rows to delete. So let us go back to indicate in Excel. And I want to highlight the whole row as is. So Lara Palmer from A15 to D15. Okay, that's not going to work either. Give me a second, let me confirm. Okay, let's do a different way. Okay, let me just do this. Let me use text, and I'll say 4 at position 4. So let me open my automation again. Sorry, my Excel document again. Rather than do 4, maybe we should do. Let me clean up this guy a bit. Did this here, and then also remove my add rows so that I don't insert rows. I want to remove these insert rows so that we don't insert new data into that sheet. And then I want to delete Albert Kipling on row 4. So let me define it as 4. Save, let me save that. And delete rows, specific rows at position 4. Right. Now, just for 4, let me run it again. I hope everyone is following along. Excel automation is really an important part of automation in UiPath Studio. Okay, our automation is running again. And we've run into this error again. Okay, so let me just, give me a second, stop. Column, is it column I'm deleting? Okay, we ran into that error in my column email. It's already been deleted. So this is actually a different error. We ran into this error because the column had already been deleted from March. So that column could not longer be deleted. So what I'll do is I'll delete this column so that we can see our delete rows in action. Yeah, let me just run this one more time. So remember, we're trying to delete a row that has already been deleted. So UiPath threw up an error saying that that row could, I'm sorry, that column could not be deleted because it had already been deleted. So let's run this one more time. I don't know if you caught that, but I would open our Excel workbook again so that we can see that indeed Albert Kipling has been deleted from our document. Albert Kipling was previously in row 4. So if we look at the document and we see in row 4, we do not have Albert Kipling, our automation has successfully deleted Albert Kipling. Right. Now we can see here that Albert Kipling has been in fact deleted, and we no longer have him as part of our data within this set. I'll clean up my Excel file again, just one more time, by removing the age columns that we've added and saving it. And I'll go on to show us, or just show us a bit more, some Excel actions that are a bit more complex. Now, in our UiPath StudioX, we've already seen how we can insert data into sheets, rows, and columns. Sorry, insert new sheets, rows, and columns. And we've seen also how we can delete that information. What I'll do now is I'll add another use Excel file at the top of my current one, just so we have another fresh pair to work with. And then I'll select that same workbook that I was working with previously. My annual reports. Right. Now, what I would like us to do in this instance is show you the power of UiPath StudioX to sort our Excel sheets. So you can just type in sort range, sort, or sort range, and it will bring out the sort range activity or action for you. And then you can actually just click within our Excel file and say which sheet you want to sort. So I want to sort March, and then I want to add a sort column. Now, just like you would do in your typical Excel document, let me pull up that same file. Assuming I wanted to sort March by the employee name in ascending order, for instance, that's a typical task people do to make their reports more presentable and more appealing, right? So in ascending order, you want to see a list of all your customers in ascending order. You can actually do that with StudioX. You will define the column within that range, employee, and you can dictate the direction. So I want to sort that particular Excel sheet in ascending order. Now, we're done with our sort range. We'll see that in action shortly, but I also want to use this as an opportunity to show us one more thing. Just like we had done before, I want us to insert an age column just like we had done before. So I'll drag and drop my insert column here. And then I will define that same March document, and I would say after the employee name in my range, and I want to add header, and I want to call it age. I hope everyone was able to do that. I know we've done that before, so that was a bit quick. But yes, I just want to add that column age. I'll leave my format as general, but now I want to show you a cool feature within Excel, StudioX, for interacting with Excel. We have this action called for each. It simply, as the name suggests, allows you to go over each row within your Excel sheet. So I will drag this action into my automation and drop that here. And then this UiPath pops up a bunch of things, right? Now it says for each current row, so meaning my present row, in range. Now, in range, we need to define where within our Excel document do we want to do this for each. And I want to do that within my March sheet. For each row within my March sheet, remember our sheet has headers, so we need to click headers. Now, for each of them, I want to write something somewhere, right? I want to write something somewhere. So I want to write cell. So I'm clicking on the write cell action and dragging that in. And then just like we had seen prior, UiPath StudioX asks you what you want to write and asks you where you want to write it. I click on what to write. And in this example, I'm just going to assume that we have an organization policy where every employee has to be the same age, and that age has to be 50. What to write is 50, and then where to write it, I would like to indicate in Excel okay, so now we have a situation here where my automation has not yet created that column I want to interact with has not yet been created here. But then I would go ahead and go back to StudioX. Have a second, guys. Insert column here, age. Okay. March. Why hasn't it created? Okay, so I'll just indicate on screen. Let me go back to Excel. So the expectation is that my automation will create a new row here, right, in B1, and it would be in B1, B2 rather. So I'll click confirm here, and you'd see where it says, I'm sorry, let me do this again. I don't want to say manager name. I just want to say B2. Yeah, so it says March B2. Now, March B2. Remember, my age is created after employee, and then in the B column, and then I want to now write the age 50 in my column B, but then auto increments the row. So I'll do that, and we're going to run our automation. Let me add a message box within that guy so that, okay, no, outside here, after my message, for each row here, I'll add a message box. That says text and says done. I'll close my Excel document and run my automation again so that we can see what we've been able to do so far. Let us do a short recap. Our UiPath StudioX opens the Excel document, sorts the employees by name in ascending order, adds an age column to the document, to the sheet March, and uses the for each row to write into each of the cells the age of each of the employees, which by organization policy should be 50. So I'll click on run automation, and let's see how this plays out. UiPath has added our age, and you can see it's pre-filling or populating our age column. And I think I saw a question in the chat about adding or filling in data. So you can see that just like we have seen right now, UiPath is able to go into Excel and work with each of the individual transaction rows or rows within our Excel sheets. This is something you might need to do from time to time, where you need to update rows or records in rows, and for each row would be for each Excel row will be very useful in your automation. We'll look at two more things before we end our session today on Excel automation. The two things we would look at are filter, and one last thing, which we might need to do from time to time, is VLOOKUP. I'll quickly add our filter right after we've done our auto increment. So in our activities panel, we would add filter, type filter, and then I'll drag in this filter here. It will be very useful to have our Excel document open. So I'll open that Excel sheet again, the annual report sheet. And in this instance, I want to filter this column, this Excel sheet, using the column role in company, and I want to get only the people. The filter is by the people that are IT specialists. So we'll quickly look at that. After dragging in your filter, you click Excel for the source where we want to work with. We say merge, and then UiPath allows you say which column you want to work with. And then I would say rolling company, which I have shown you on your Excel. Just like that, UiPath gives us a filter wizard that we can use to configure our filters. So we would have a basic filter that says rolling company is equal to, I want to get this text from my Excel sheet. So I'll just click indicate in Excel so that it pops it up. And I'm going to just use it to copy and paste the text. So I'll copy this text, IT specialist, to my clipboard. And then I'll use the text field and paste it here, IT specialist. Just like you would do in Excel with your filters, UiPath really does allow you define various filters to match whatever criteria you have within your business flow that you want to automate. And what I'll do just before we go on is, let me just run this automation quickly. Okay, so I'll close my Excel document. So as you can see within our automation, we now have on screen, just like you would have when you actually working with Excel, the filter icons showing within our Excel document. And then you can also see that the filter has been applied using the text we specified, which was IT specialist. I hope this session has been able to show you some of the key actions, highlight how to use some of these key actions that you would need from time to time within your automation. Apologies, we have overshot our time by 10 minutes, but I hope this session was really insightful. And I invite you all to come explore UiPath StudioX using Excel and do your Excel automations and then grow within your automation capacity. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. That was the session for today on UiPath StudioX and automating with Excel. I would invite you also to come over to the UiPath Academy website to go over this course again at a more in-depth level, to learn more about Excel automation within StudioX. I'm more than happy to connect with anyone on this call. On screen right now, you will see my LinkedIn. Happy to connect with any of you. And now I guess we'll open the floor to questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olaoluwa, for the great session. Oh, thank you so much. Before we go